Hello everyone, my name is Ash, and welcome to my Crafty Corner. Today we're going to be working on Ada Wong from Resident Evil from ES Monsters. Applying a light skin tone on top of a black primer takes quite a while to build up the correct color, but I find it works pretty well if you just take your time and apply thin coats, one after another, let it dry, because when it does, it comes out quite nice, as you can see. And right here, all I'm doing is applying a very light brown rose in between like the chest, places like where there's shadows are going to be built up. Next, we're going to be doing something called speckling to make freckles on the skin. You take a brown paint, normal style watering, but you turn down the airbrush to basically as low as it can go so it actually sputters it out. So it applies random freckles over the whole thing. As with all of the figures I paint, after getting the skin tone done, I will clear coat it, and then I apply a yellow wash over the whole thing so it bites in and gives it some more definition in its color. You can leave it on, I wouldn't say too long, because the problem is it will bite into it if you don't take it off. So you can see I'm doing it very quickly, getting as much off as I can so it doesn't get in the recesses like cleavage, at the collarbone, things like that. I probably could have left it on a tiny bit longer to bite in. As with the red is what really makes the skin look alive. It gives it that nice pink tone, the blood vessels and all that give. I usually don't do a blue after, because I actually find it might just be my paint. It immediately bites into the paint and it ruins even with a clear coat. So I don't do that. You can do that for veins I don't know if I'd say well. For dress, I'm actually proud of how this turned out. I had the perfect red for it. It just took a lot of coats, and getting into the certain spots like the undersides of the dress was actually a pain in the ass because it's really hard to maneuver it in that style. And what I'm doing here is I actually took a slightly darker red to go under the breasts where the shadows will naturally come in. I think what would have been a better idea is to actually just use a black and very slowly build it up, because in certain spots it took a lot of coats, like 4 or 5, to really build it up into a nice shadow. See there, these are all the spots I'm talking about. Now we're on to her leg holster. It's just black and some silver to give it some like a metal look. It's my sterling silver. I don't even know where I got this bottle. It's like a dollar store bottle that it's so perfect for getting this sterling silver on belt buckles, certain loops and things like that. Now just doing a very light dry brush on top of the black to kind of give it a worn effect, because if you don't, it just looks very flat. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. It just, the dry brush, one, it's so satisfying to do, especially on big parts. You just want to catch the edges of certain things. Like you can see, I'm just getting the loop where the top of the holster is on the belt. Just things like that. It just adds a nice variation and highlights everything. I've actually grown to really enjoy dry brushing.
Alrighty, time for some heels. Ada's heels are just black paint. Nothing special, nothing complicated. The only thing I think I would have liked to have done is maybe add a bit of dark blue onto the back of the heel just to give it some color variation. That's about it.
And here's the finished heel. I think it looks pretty good for just being black paint. For the top of her dress, the biggest problem I found is the connecting part, the torso to the dress had the tiniest little error on the print. So I just had to sand it down and kind of fill it in. We're just finishing up the black paint on the top of her dress. This collar thing, I'm pretty sure you would call it a choker, I guess, is also just black. On the back of it, you can see there's this tiny little hole here. It has kind of like a tassel on the end of it. It is so fragile, I thought I was going to break it about 1,000 times while painting it. So now it's on to the red part of the top. I'm not sure why I painted it black to begin with. Maybe it's because I did the dress, its undercoat or base coat was a black primer, and I wanted it to be the same, like the black to absorb a bit of that color. So maybe that's why I did it. But in the end, it looks exactly like how I wanted it to. It's just looking back at it now, I'm just kind of confused as to why. Onto the gun. You can just paint the whole thing black if you wanted and it would look fine. See here, there's supposed to be kind of like a decal. I didn't want to do that because it's kind of too much work. So here's the finished effect. I actually went back with a kind of wooden brown to give it a wood paint. I actually really like how this turned out. I think it looks much better than leaving it one color. I don't know if Ada actually wears nail polish. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a very watered down red to add kind of that blood vessels under the eyes. This is where I had a bit of trouble finding the correct color for her eyes. Every reference photo I could find, it's this very light, like incredibly light gray that I'm happy with how it turned out, but I think I could have somehow made this gray even lighter. So now it's time for the iris. All I use is slightly watered down black paint, and I take a sharpened toothpick that I learned from the Sideshow channel and just hook it in there because it gives it more of a correct circle to it. For her lips, I just take my gloss varnish paint and I'll put it over the lips, 1 or 2 coats, and then you will cover the eyes. It gives it a kind of shine to it, and it really makes it look more like it's got the water. I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with me for my very slow updates to the channel. I think one of the things is I only have the one printer, and certain things like the big ass prints can take up a full week for me at least to print, do all the cleaning and getting it just prepared to even paint. So I'm doing what I can, and I really do appreciate you sticking with me, and I hope that I can keep bringing you content for you guys. So here she is, finally finished. What I'm going to do from now on is give the things I like about the painting this figure versus things I don't. What I don't like is, no matter what I could do, I couldn't completely close the gap in her hair. It just wouldn't fit properly, no matter what. What I do like is, I love the dress on this character. It's one of my favorite things about Ada. Plus, you know, Ada's one of like the top 3 best Resident Evil girls. I wish somebody would make a model of Sheva because she is like my absolute favorite character. I loved her in Resident Evil 5.